Okay, students, so we are going to talk about sentence structure today. We're going to talk about two sentence types, the simple sentence and the compound sentence. These are two basic sentence types that you need to know. And what I've noticed in your writing is that sometimes you have misused a comma or you have no commas at all. And what's that is causing is run-on sentences. And I'm going to show you how to fix those today. So the first sentence we're going to talk about is the simple sentence. What it is it's an independent clause. It contains a subject and a verb. There are no dependent clauses in the simple sentence, and we'll talk about dependent clauses later, but what I want you to focus on today is that every simple sentence has one subject and one verb. So we have a short type, and it's here. It's the dog barked. This is one example. The dog being your subject, the word barked being your verb. It's what the dog did. It's the action. But then we also have an example of a long simple sentence. Leaning first this way and then that, the large tan dog with a wide black collar barked loudly at the full moon last night from under the lilac bush in the shadow of the north side of the house. Really, all of this extra information are they're what you call prepositional phrases. They just add extra information to the sentence. You still have a simple independent clause here in the middle. It's the large tan dog, your subject, with a wide black collar, barked, again, there's your verb, barked loudly at the full moon last night. So even though the sentence is way longer, it's still a simple sentence because it has one subject and one verb. So down here, we can look at the simple sentence may have a compound subject, so it could be the dog and the cat howled, and it could have a compound verb. It could be the dog howled and barked. It may have a compound subject and a compound verb. The dog and the cat howled and yowled respectively. So the most important thing to know about a simple sentence is that it's going to have a subject and a verb, and it's not going to contain a dependent clause, which we'll talk about later. So that's your first sentence type. This is the most basic type, and it's what many of you write with. Now let's talk about the compound sentence, because this is where I have seen you guys write run-on sentences. So a compound sentence is going to be two simple sentences, but it's joined by a piece of punctuation. There are three ways you can combine a compound sentence. You could use a comma. If you use a comma, then you have to use a coordinating conjunction. These are your fanboys. They're not in order, but they should be for, and, nor, but, or, so. Fanboys. It's a way to remember. It's an acronym. So here's an example. The dog barked and the cat yowled. If I just put a comma between barked and, I would have, or if I just put a comma between barked and the, I would have a run-on sentence because I wouldn't be correctly combining. I have to have my fanboy in there. I have to have my and. It helps show the relationship. So you need the comma and the coordinating conjunction, which is what we have right here with and. Now in the second example, you can do it with a semicolon. The dog barked, semicolon, the cat yowled. This is a way to combine two simple sentences, but you cut out the comma and the fanboy and you use the semicolon. The reason you would use a semicolon is because the two sentences are connected. Both of the animals are doing an action. They're kind of similar. And so you want to use the semicolon when you're showing that there is a similar relationship between the two simple sentences. Okay, the third way you can combine a compound sentence is with a comma, but only when the simple sentences are being treated as items in a series. So you can use simple sentences in a series. The dog barked, comma, the cat yowled, comma, and the rabbit chewed. Again, this is telling us what each of these animals did. There's a subject and then a simple verb that comes after it. So these are three ways you can combine compound sentences, and I want you to especially go back and look through your essay to make sure that you do not have run-on sentences. I also want you to note if you have questions or if you're uncertain about any of this information. I want to make sure you understand the simple sentence and the compound sentence before we get into more sentence types.